So, I love the Dark Souls franchise. Like, a lot. At first, I thought it was because of the dreary medieval landscapes, epic boss fights, and strikingly beautiful fortresses. The worlds of Dark Souls and Elden Ring are so immersive that at times I find myself longing to be in them again and again. Which is odd because the bleak, unforgiving world is so dank and unforgiving, it's hard to imagine anyone really wanting to be there. But after a few months of playing and reflecting, I discovered a deeper reason for being so drawn to Lordran and the lands in between. The themes of the Souls games intersect the themes of another topic that fascinates me: theology. Today, I'm going to do something unimaginable. I'm going to explain the theology of Souls games and connect it to the broader theological concepts of contemporary and ancient religion. Disclaimer, I'm not going to advocate for any specific religious perspective. Instead, I will just touch on some parallels between the Souls games and major belief patterns expressed throughout the history of religion. But first, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. That way you get more Queen Maps content coming your way. Now, one of the more frustrating challenges of video games, and I'm sure you'll agree, is that dying in a game too easily breaks the suspension of disbelief. Let me illustrate using our favorite Italian plumber. So you are playing as Mario, and you experience, to use a morbid word, death. In the world of Mario, dying can be the result of getting hit by a turtle shell, whatever. But it's okay, because after you die, you can simply come back and try the level all over again. It gives you another chance to play. But if we're being honest, it does pull us out of the fantasy a little bit. You're in the Mushroom Kingdom one moment, and then you die, and you come back. You're not a real plumber, you're not a real individual in the game. You're actually controlling this character from your bedroom wearing your PJs. Now, by the time Nintendo got to Yoshi's Island, they modified this a bit by putting Baby Mario inside a bubble, but it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Nintendo isn't the only culprit. Just about every adventure game has this death and rebirth mechanic. Halo, Call of Duty, even God of War, they all do this thing where you die and somehow the tape of life is rewound, as if we can just rewind all the mistakes in our lives in the real world. BioShock tries to get around this by reviving your character at the nearest Vita chamber, but it's hard to convince players they're still alive after they were just shot with a Thompson submachine pew-pew. Now, in Dark Souls, though, your character is explained as an undead. Simply put, your curse is to experience the pain of death just to be brought back so you can face death all over again. Not only does this mechanic lock you into the imagined cosmology of the Souls universe, it pulls on a very ancient concept. In theology, this is called eternal recurrence. You suffer a pain as morbid as death just to be brought back to experience it all over again. My favorite example comes to us from Greek mythology, the myth of Prometheus, who was punished by the gods for stealing fire from Mount Olympus. His punishment was to have his body tied to a mountain and picked at by an eagle, just to have his insides restored so the punishment can repeat itself over and over again. To players who are new to Souls games, the constant cycle of dying and retrying can feel like a punishment in of itself. But it's only after you overcome constant failure that you unlock the next theological concept: limbo. Despite the cycle of death and rebirth, you're still upgrading your character and racking up achievements. This leads players to imagine themselves in a state more like limbo or purgatory than outright hell. Although you are punished, you still experience triumph, excitement, beauty. The greatest beauty is that you're progressing towards something greater. The Italian poet Dante writes about this very concept in his book, The Purgatorio. He writes that hope is the anchor of the soul. No matter how many times we get crushed, part of us knows we must continue. We must get to the next bonfire. We must figure out the boss's movesets so we can memorize them. We must make it to the other side. In Elden Ring, the world you traverse is literally called the lands in between. No doubt that this is a symbolic gesture to the very idea in mythology and theology that may have inspired the world. But it doesn't end just there, because as players, we keep upgrading and improving until we are godlike. In theology and mythology, this is called apotheosis. You might have recognized this term from the hero's journey. The process of becoming like God or even a God is all over religion. Some denominations of Christianity even see it reflected in the Bible. Check out Romans chapter 8 verses 16 through 17 for just one example of this. Now, to be fair, Dark Souls does feel a bit nihilistic. Earlier, I mentioned that you play as an undead whose punishment is to enter a perpetual cycle of death and rebirth. The undead who struggle to bear this burden can also become a hollow, which essentially means your mental faculties crush under the punishment until you are guided only by your base animal instincts. Those who rage quit and switch to something like Stardew Valley will, sadly, never rise above this challenge. They will never know what it feels like to journey through hell, through purgatory, and become a god, where punishing demons has literally no impact on you. Any Souls player can tell you that this confidence and power spills into the menial tasks of the real world. Your next job interview will be nothing compared to your first round against Margit the Fell Omen. Becoming an Elden Lord might not be as challenging as getting your dream job, but it sure as heck prepares you for that challenge. Maybe if Dark Souls can prepare you mentally and emotionally to slaughter through hell and purgatory, to become a godlike warrior, it can help guide you through life itself. And if that is not a spiritual experience, I literally have no idea what is. Thank you for watching.